Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life, and welcome to this 1980s horror movie review video as part of my overall 1980s horror movie series. So before we get started with the review for today, a couple things I forgot to mention in my intro video, which dropped yesterday for this part of the 1980s series, 1983. And it's probably for newer subscribers and viewers. Um, you won't see every 1983 horror movie reviewed in the next few months, and that's because some of them I've already reviewed, like Psycho 2, for example. You're not going to see me review because I already have it up on my channel when I did a Psycho franchise review series a few years ago. I think it was like 3-4 years ago now. So you can search that on my channel and find the in-depth review for that movie and others. So if you don't see obviously, like Jaws 3D, I just reviewed last month as part of my Jaws Orca franchise series. So if you don't see a movie that you know is a horror movie from 1983 that I review in the next 3 months, it's probably because it's already a review on my channel. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I also want to add, though, that those movies will still be up for being one of the top 15 horror movies of 1983 once we get to the end of this part of the series, the end of September here. They very well are still in the running for being one of the top movies of the year. So keep that in mind as well, even if I don't have an individual review for them over these 3 months. So now that housekeeping is out of the way, we could talk about the 1983 horror movie for this particular video that we're going to review, and that is, again, as I said in my intro video, it's a movie that I had a review for up on my channel years ago, but it's been taken down, it's been removed and deleted, and that movie is Sleepaway Camp from 1983, which I have the Blu-ray Scream Factory Blu-ray and DVD combo pack collector's edition here. Um, there's the front, there's the back. I don't know how well you guys can see. It does have quite a few special features. Nice documentary to it. So let's go ahead and talk about Sleepaway Camp from 1983. Obviously, one of the better known horror movies, not just for that year, but for the decade overall. So Sleepaway Camp is a 1983 American slasher film written and directed by Robert Hiltzik, and is the original entry in the Sleepaway Camp film series. It focuses on serial killings which occur at a summer camp for teenagers. So in 1975, John Baker and his boyfriend Lenny take John's children, Angela and Peter, on a boating trip. After the boat capsizes, John and the children try to swim to shore, but they swim into the path of a reckless motorboat and are struck. John and one of the children are killed. 8 years later, Angela, the surviving child, is traumatized and lives with her eccentric aunt, Dr. Martha Thomas, and cousin Ricky Thomas. Angela and Ricky are sent to Camp Arawak. Angela's introverted nature makes her a target for bullying by fellow campers, Judy and camp counselor Meg. But Ronnie, Angelo, and Susie are nicer to her. The head cook, Artie, attempts to sexually assault her, but Ricky intervenes. Later, an unseen figure causes Artie to be severely scalded by boiling water. Artie is rushed to the hospital, and camp owner Mel Kostick dismisses the incident as accidental. Campers Kenny and Mike mock Angela, prompting Ricky and his friend Paul to confront them. Paul befriends Angela. Later, after Kenny is out at night on the lake and capsizes his canoe, an unseen figure confronts Kenny. Kenny is found the next morning drowned, and Mel again rules the death as an accident. Paul asks Angela to go to the movies with him and kisses her. Campers Billy and Jimmy throw a water balloon at Angela. Then Billy is killed when someone traps him in a public toilet with a beehive, exploiting his allergy. Mel begins to suspect the killer is at the camp. So that's to set up the premise, the beginning of Sleepaway Camp. As far as the cast goes, we have Felissa Rose as Angela Baker, Jonathan Tiersten as Ricky Thomas, rest in peace, as Jonathan Tiersten sadly just passed away in May, about a month and a half ago. Karen Fields as Judy, Christopher Collette as Paul, Mike Kellen as Mel Kostick, and his last last movie role, and Catherine Kami is Meg. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the cast for the 1983 horror movie slasher movie Sleepaway Camp. Um, what can you say about this movie? It definitely stands out. It's very unique for the decade of the 80s, not just in terms of slasher movies, but also in horror movies in general. So let's go. Let's get into what I like most about Sleepaway Camp, starting with the pros here. And I mean, I just have to start with the fact that this is a very ballsy, unique slasher movie that stands apart from the rest of the decade, from the other slasher movies of the decade. It really goes for it without any apologies. And it's very much ahead of its time with some of the themes that it touches on as well, like, you know, like trans themes and gay themes. Uh, Also, there's a little bit of uncomfortable. Um, what's the word I'm searching for here? For some reason, I'm drawing a blank. Pedophilia. There we go. But yeah, pedophilia. Um, some, like I said, some trans themes, some gay themes, very much ahead of its time in terms of its themes being made in the early 80s. But yeah, it's just such a ballsy slasher movie that really goes for it. Unlike a lot of other slasher movies for the 1980s specifically. So that's the first thing I really like about the movie. I'm absolutely sold on the camp setting. It's one of my favorite aspects of this movie. It's one of the most realistic of all the 80s camp slashers that were made. The movie does a good job of utilizing the different areas of the camp, whether it be the lake and the beach area. There's like a softball, baseball, diamond or field area. Obviously, like the rec hall and all the different bunks, both guys and gals. It's just having, as somebody that was a camp counselor and has been to a camp like this when I was a lot younger. I can say that this does the best job of giving us the most realistic setting. Of course, it was actually shot at a real life summer camp, so that helps. The ending is still talked about to this day. One of the most effective, what the fuck, batshit crazy twist endings that any movie's ever had, frankly. It's haunting and effective at the same time. And I'm not going to give it away because even though this movie's been out for over 40 years now, there might still be some people that are subscribed to my channel that haven't seen this movie, but it's definitely an ending that you're not going to see coming. And if for those people that say they do, I call bullshit a little bit. I really do. But yeah, it's really an out there WTF ending, and so you got to give the movie a lot of credit for that. It goes along with the ballsiness of the movie. The movie rides a good balance of cheesy humor as well as suspenseful, like POV stalking and killing that just works overall. You kind of see things through the killer's eyes, much like the original Friday the 13th. The POV shots of the killer when it comes to stalking and killing. And it's not an easy thing to do. And this movie does it really well, have that balance of being very over the top and cheesy, which this movie certainly does, but also having some more suspenseful stalking scenes as well. It really rides the balance very well. Maybe even better than Friday the 13th, frankly. I think the kills are really effective and fun in that they aren't just your typical stab kind of kill, but they have a variety of ways the killer takes people out, whether it be drowning, burning, or scalding, if you will, and bee stinging of somebody that's allergic to it. It's just great variety of kills here. And on top of that point, it also has really great practical makeup and gore effects with those kills. Especially the burned victim and the drowning victim, the aftermath of what we see after the attempted kills there. And technically, I guess the scalding victim isn't necessarily a kill because we don't know if that person ends up dying or not. But either way, their life's going to be drastically different if they don't. But like the aftermath of the drowning victim, you see a little like water snake crawling around his eye and stuff. It's very grotesque and very effective from a practical makeup standpoint. It seems really creepy and or seems creepily real. Like you'd actually see somebody that met that fate. And then my final pros, I think the score is effective. Well, it's definitely over the top, loud and dramatic, right as the opening title takes place. I think it works well for this movie's overall tone and atmosphere, and therefore I think it's a very effective score. So, yeah, those are my pros, the things that I really like about Sleepaway Camp. As far as cons go, it's a low budget movie, and all I have to say is the mustache cop. And you probably know what I'm talking about if you've seen this movie before. There's a cop that comes midway through the movie and he's got a mustache. Okay, fair enough. But then he comes back at the end of the movie, and I can only guess that this actor was called back for these final scenes and had shaven the mustache. So what you get is like black electrician's tape here, where the mustache was supposed to be. Almost like someone colored in black marker, but I think it is like electrician's tape. And it's so obvious and so bad. Also, there's the scene before the curling iron kill as it relates to one of our antagonist characters, campers, teenage camper characters. You can see the person standing in the doorway and who it's actually supposed to be versus who it actually is with a wig on. Again, low budget, very, very cheesy, very obvious. But so just things like that, I have to nitpick. I think the predictability of who the killer is not really a stretch or not really that hard to see. Now, the other twist having to do with the ending, that's very well done, and that's what makes the ending. But as far as who the killer is, the person, the body of the person that's doing the killing, that's kind of predictable in my opinion. If you watch the movie, also there's sleeping bag deaths having to do with these younger kids. Like these kids aren't teenagers; they're more like 8, 9, 10 years old. It's kind of a cutaway. It feels like there's a scene missing there as far as the kills go. Now I'm guessing they just didn't want to kill little kids on screen. But I just could have used a little bit more there to really bring it home. Where you basically just see the sleeping bags like cut up with the cotton coming out and a little bit of blood stained around it. And then my final con, which again is nitpicky considering this is a low budget movie, but the acting, some of the acting in this movie, and I'm going to particularly pick on the opening scene before it's 8 years later and you get the current time that we're in. When this accident happens at the beginning, the two teenagers that are driving the boat, I mean, I literally think they took those two off the street. I mean, it's so bad, man. And even the water skier that's part of this accident. Let me see if I can remember how she says it. Oh my God, somebody get help for them now. It's something to that effect, but it's even worse than what I just gave there, that performance. And so the acting is definitely it's bad, but again, it's part of the cheesiness of this movie, the low budgetness of this movie and the tone of this movie. So it's even hard to nitpick that too much. But overall, guys, Sleepaway Camp from 1983. I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. It's a comfort movie for me. It's the kind of cheesy 80s movie that I can put on anytime, but I do watch it every summer for sure. And it just works for me. Like I said, it's a comfort movie. So you might say, why are you only giving it an 8, not like a 9 out of 10? Because I can't unseen some of the bad low budget effects or lack thereof, as well as the predictability of who the killer is. But again, it's all saved by the way the movie ends. The final twist, not the twist of the killer, but the other twist that happens at the end. But 8 out of 10, I think, is fair overall for Sleepaway Camp from 1983. So with that being said, comment down below your guys' thoughts if you've seen this movie. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen it, what have you been doing with your life? Check it out. I'm sure you can find it on streaming services, but you really should go out and buy it. But please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, it will really help me out for the future content of my channel going forward. But with all that being said, thank you for watching. Stay cool, and as always, stay scared. Bye.